We are on the page 13, section 7.2 and 7.3, factoring trinomials. We are talking about factoring to break things down as what? Something multiply something, right? Things like that. As a product by multiplying each individual. We are going to break things down to such a way. So we are going to do factoring trinomials. What are trinomials? Tri means what? How many terms? 3 terms, right? So trinomial, standard form, 3 terms. So that will be what? ax squared plus bx plus c. From highest order to the lowest one. We have 2 conditions for factoring trinomial. One is the leading coefficient is 1. We do it a certain way. Or leading coefficient is not 1, it's more complicated. Then we do it the other way. Let's take a look how we are going to break down the trinomials 3 terms to things like something multiply something. Okay, let's go back to your previous course, Math 152A. We learned what? We learned this one, x plus 1 times x plus 3, right? So, how many terms we have here? 2. How many terms we have here? 2. 2 terms times 2 terms, we use the method called what? FOIL, right? So, when we multiply them, what do? We FOIL them, x times x, x squared, x times 3, plus 3x. Then bottom rainbow, 1 times x, 1x, right? 1 times 3, 3. 2 terms times 2 terms, we have 4 terms. Then we combine them. Combine like terms. So what do we have? X squared plus 4x plus 3, right? It ends up how many terms? 3 terms. Trinomial. Then if we do x plus 2, x plus 5. What do we have? X squared and outside 5x. Then lower rainbow, 2 times x, 2x, 2 times 5, 10. Then you combine middle term, 2x and 5x, right? So that would be what? X squared plus 7x plus 10. Let's do the observation. Take a look. 3 terms, trinomial. First one will be x times x. And last term will be your numbers, 2 times 5, 10. What happened to the middle one? Middle one is you multiply each 5 and 2 to the x, then combine them, you have 7x. Where is 7 from? 2 plus 5. Where is 4 from? Take a look. 4 would be 1 plus 2. Last term will be what? 1 times 3 when we multiply them. Right? Now we are going to go backwards. Backwards means what? We are going to break down the trinomial. Trinomial, going backwards. If we give you x squared plus 2x plus 3, right? We have trinomial. What's the leading coefficient? Invisible 1, right? So you will break down what? Like, first one, that's x squared. Leading coefficient is 1, so it's x and x. What's the 3? 3 can be broken down to what? 3 times 1, right? So 3 and 1. When you add them together, just happen to be the middle one. So is that the situation? So we are going backwards as in 152A class. In 152A, you multiply them. Now we break down the trinomial, break down to individual, something multiply something, right? It's called factoring. And each one, you cannot break down any smaller, so we call each one is what? Primes, right? So if I have x squared plus 7x plus 10, like this one, if I break it down to two numbers, that means that's xx. The last number 10 means these two numbers multiply together. So 10 can be what? 1 times 10 or 2 times 5 or -1 times -10, right? Times -10 or -5 times what? -2 times -5, right? But we want to add these two numbers together. The pair we choose has to be what? Added together is 7. So these two will work positive, not a negative. Negative will be -7. That's how we go backwards. It means what? The two numbers together, multiply together is your C. Added together is your B. That's how we break down. If the leading coefficient is 1, all you need to find is what? These two numbers can be multiplied together is the C, added together is your B, right? So let's find the two numbers which will work for you on the table in the middle part. So we want to multiply together and add together. Multiply together is what? Your C, right? Multiply together is your C. Add together is your B. So if multiply together, we want to have 24, and add together is 11. Which two numbers will work, right? So what do you think? So you analyze the things you are going to multiply it to. So A and 3 will work. It will take you a while to get used to it, right? A times 3 is 24, together is 11. Sometimes you can see it right away, sometimes you don't, right? But you can look at it, 24 can be 1 times 24, a pair, right? Pair together, and 2 times 12, 3 times what? 8, 4 times 6, then 6 goes back. So those added together, 25, added together, 14, that will not work. Only this one work, 3 and 8. That's one way to analyze it, right? To break down to a pair which it will work. Or you can do it this way, 24, you analyze 24, you break down as 3, then 2 times 2, that's 4 times 2, it's 8 times 3, that's 24. So we want to break down this to two parts. So you can break down 4 and 6. 4 and 6, that would not work. 4 and 6 together is 10, not 11. So you want to break it down like this way, right? How about that? 8 and 3, and it's 11. That's how you use this method, either by find a pair, analyze all the pairs, or you can analyze what's inside of 24 with all the basic elements, the building blocks, the primes. Then you separate them as two parts. And these two parts put together should be your B, right? Should be your middle part, add together. So let's take a look. Multiply together, add together, right? That's the number we want to find out for the two numbers. So for 10 and 7, which number? 5 and 2, right? Multiply together will be 10, add together is 7. How about 42? And add together is 13. Multiply together, that would be what? 6 and 7. Add together would be 13. If you use 2 and 21, that would now make 13, right? So how about 28? Multiply together is 28 and add together is 11. So 2 and 14 will not work. 4 and 7 will work, right? So if you look at the 40, added together will be 14. You kind of can guess that would be what? 4 and 10. That will work, right? How about 81? 81 added together is 18. That would be 9 and 9, yes. Right? So look at the 12, multiply together is 12, added together is 7. That would be your what? 3 and 4. Will that work? How about 16? Multiply together is 16, added together is 8. You would think, oh, 2 times 8 is 16, but it will not be 8 when you add them. How about 4 and 4? So you have to think about it, and what kind of number will work, what kind of number will not, right? Let's see. Next one, that's a 16. Then how about 6 and 7? Multiply together is 6. 6 can only be 1 and 6, 2 and 3, right? Add together, 7, that would be this number. How about 56? Your homework may have a big number. Then you need to break down, analyze the internal elements it has, then separate to 2 parts. See if they add together is this number, 15. Which 2 number you can think of, right? Would be 7 and 8. How about negative number? If multiply together is negative 27, add together is negative 6. You know 9 and 3. 9 and 3 will work together, become 27, but we need a negative. So which one you think would be negative, added together is negative 6. That would be negative 9, right? Then if you want to multiply together is 16, added together is a negative 10. What do you think? A and 2, but you add it together, it has to be what? Negative 10. So negative 8 and negative 2 will work, right? If it's 24, then added together is 11. You can see, oh, A and 3, but you need to be negative. That will be your negative and negative 3, right? How about negative 4 and 3? This one. Multiply together is negative, but added together is a positive. When you multiply together is negative, that means one is positive, one is negative. Which one you want to use, positive and negative? End up is positive. You need to use what? Negative 1. So you add it to 4, it becomes what? Positive. Right? Then take a look, next one. Next one is what? 10, right? Then add it together, negative 7. What do you think? 10, 5 and 2. But both have to be what? Negative number to multiply together become positive. Added together is negative 7. So if I use 5 and 2, those need to be negative. How about 9? Added together is negative 6. So you think about the multiplication first. Check the addition later. So that would be 3 and 3. Then you know it has to be both negative to make it negative when they add together. If multiplication is negative, that means what? 1 is negative, 1 is positive. So that will be 9 and 6. That will work, right? But 1 has to be negative. You use negative 9 because added together, you wanted to have negative 3, right? Think it over yourself. If negative 8 and negative 2, 4 and 2 will work, right? 4 and 2 will work. One of them is what? Negative. So you use this negative. To add them together, you will get negative 2. So think about it. What are we doing? We try to find the two numbers, a pair of numbers. When you add together is what? The B. Add together is your B, right? Multiply together is your C. So that's what we try to do. So we leave the example here and we see. So what we try to do is this your B by adding together. This is your C by multiplying two numbers together. Right? So let's do some numbers with the following. So we are on part 2. Let's do some examples. So what do we try to do? We are going to factoring a trinomial, right? 3 terms with what? Leading coefficient is 1. Because when leading coefficient is 1, what do you have? You have first one just x times x. Then you break down your B and C to find the two numbers to fit in. So we are going to do the x squared plus 7x plus 12, right? So the things we do, what do we call it? We call it factoring. So formally we say to factor means what? To factor means to write as what? To break down, to write as a product. Right? Write as product means what? Something multiplies something. Then each one is a smaller unit, and we call it what? If you can break down to the smallest one, that will be primes, right? So do I have a leading coefficient 1? Invisible 1, right? So you can just write x and x. Then analyze which two numbers multiply together. Multiply together is your C, right? That's multiply together. Then this one, B, you will add them together. So that will be what? 4 and 3, both positive, right? Look at the second one, x squared minus 12x plus 35. So you write what? X and x. Which two numbers multiply together? 35 added together, negative 12. So that would be 7 and 5, but it's negative. Then you find out if I do both negative, then you will end up added together is negative 12. if you have this, right? That's your x. Two numbers multiplied together is 12, negative 12. Added together is 4. Which one will work? 6 and 2. So 6 and 2. But each one with sign positive. So you're positive 6 and minus 2. Right? How about this one? Leading coefficient is 1. So you can do x and x. Which two numbers? 42, negative 42. You have what? 7 and 6. That will not work. What else we have? Oh, I wrote it wrong. No wonder it will not work. It's a minus 1. So I have 7 and 6. 7 and 6. Which one is positive? Which one is negative? Negative 1. So added together is negative 1. So you have negative 7 and plus 6. Right? Then look at the next one. If I have a squared plus 2a plus 10, then that means I can put AA here. Multiply together is a squared. How about 10? It can be what? 5 times 2, 1 times 10. That's just follow from 1, 2, 3. Up. 2 times 5, 3. You cannot work. 4, 5. Right? Doesn't matter they are positive or negative. When you add it together will not be 2. So can we break down this further? No, we cannot. Then we cannot do it anymore. Cannot make it a smaller unit. That means what? This one we call it what? A prime polynomial. That's all we can do. That would be the smallest unit we can have. Then we call it what? A prime polynomials. Okay. Let's look at the number 6. So for the purpose of your class, you might have x and y squared. But for the method we are learning, don't worry about your x and y first. Okay? Just do your x and see what happened. And analyze the number. Multiply together is 6. Added together is 7. So that will be 6 and 1. Right? And 6 and 1, because you have y squared, then we'll put a y here. And what do? Y is what? For 6, both have signs to separate the term. That will work. X squared, 6y, 1y, 6y squared, 1y. We don't have to write a 1. Then middle part here is 6xy plus 1xy. You end up 7xy. Right? So even you have 2 variables x, y, you will do the same way as you have there. So look at this. Do I have trinomial? Then what is your A? A is now 40. What's your B? Negative 13. What's your C? C is now 1. It's 40. A actually is 1, invisible 1. Why? We have to write it as a standard form from highest order to the lowest order. So you need to rewrite it first before you factor it. That's x, right? Which two numbers for 40, 8, and 5 will work? but negative. So that would be what? Negative 8 and negative 5. Right? Then we are talking about factoring a trinomial with leading coefficient is 1. Oops, this one is not. However, you look over again, 32460. What can you do? Make the leading coefficient is 1. You can take a 3 out. You always take a GCF out first. That would be m squared minus what? am minus 20. Is that right? Now you can follow it. So do we have a leading coefficient is 1? Yes. Which two number will work? Negative 20 will become what? Negative 10 and 2. That would make a negative 8, right? So that's how you do. That would be your answer. So you always do GCF first. That way. Are we good? You will forget about GCF. But write yourself a note. Write yourself a note, then say what? When you do the factoring, which one you always do it first? You will always do what? GCF, right? So you will check that first. Then for this one, when you first look, it's a big number. However, if you do GCF first, take a look. 22684, that would be 2. Besides 2, you have another GCF. What is that? X fourth, x cubed, x squared. So you should have another x squared as your GCF. If you do so, what's left? 2 take out x fourth, take out x squared, you have x squared, right? Then 26 minus 13, then x cubed, take out x squared, you have x left, right? Then for 84, take out 2, you have 42, then x squared, take out, you don't have any more. So you have what? 2x squared outside. Now inside it's a trinomial. Leading coefficient is 1, so we just do x. Which two numbers will work? 7 and 6, but negative, minus 7 minus 6. That's how we do. Are we okay? What are we doing? Think about it. We are doing factoring a trinomial. Factoring trinomials with leading coefficient is 1, right? Then when you multiply together will be your C. When you add it together will be your B. Now we are going to factoring trinomial again, okay? With leading coefficient is not 1. So we cannot write it just say, oh, x times x, that way anymore. So we have to do more about it. Let's take a look. That's how we do, okay? The method we call it AC method. AC method. AC means what? A times C. Added together still B. Okay? When leading coefficient is now 1, we need to do more processing to get there. Okay? Let's see. Let's just follow up. At least you need to see a few examples. So what do? We call it either AC method or diamond method. AC means what? You multiply B means what? You added them together. AC means what? A times C. What is A times C? 3 times 6 is what? 18, right? Then B is 11. So you do that first. Then what do? You try to find the two numbers, multiply together is 18, added together is 11. What do you think? 9 and 2. Put a sign there. Positive or negative? Both are positive. Those two numbers are that way. Then what do? We will break down because added together is B. So we will break down that 11 becomes these two numbers, which is positive 9 and positive 2. That's for 11. At the same time, you have your what? X. 9x plus 2x is 11x. Right? Then what do? We carry down this. That's your 3x squared and plus 6. We make a trinomial by breaking down the middle part. We end up with what? 4 terms. Then 4 terms, we will do it by grouping. This first group will be what? You take a GCF out, will be 3x. We just learned it by factoring, by grouping, right? On previous sections. So this one will be what? X plus 3, right? Then this one, you have 2. Leading one is positive, so you do positive. So what do we have? X plus 3. Then you have 2 groups. This is the same. Then that would be 3 plus 2, right? How do you know you are doing right? Then you check. So to check, you just buy what? FOIL. So 3x times x, 3x squared, 3 times 3, 3x times 3, 9x. Then lower rainbow, 2 times x, 2x plus 2 times 3, 6. Then you combine like terms. What do we have? 3x squared plus 11x plus 6. Did you get back? Yes. See what happened? Your 11 middle part, you have 9x and 2x. 9x and 2x. That's how you go backwards, breaking down. When you multiply, you add them. When you go backwards, you have to use 9 and 2 to be able to make it work. Right? Then how do you find your 9 and 2? You have to use what? Add them together and become 11. To do that way, multiply together, you have to have what? Become A and C. You have to do that. Got an idea? Right? So first, we factoring out the GCF if we have. Then we'll find these two numbers. Then split the middle terms to the two numbers found. Then group the first 2 and second 2. And we do that. Okay? Let's write down the process. So, you can remember better, right? So use the AC method. First, we always what? We always factoring out the GCF. For this one, we don't have it, right? Then what's the next step? You will find this first, so you can split it. So second one, you will, so this is your second step, you will find what? Two numbers, right? That will multiply together is what? Your AC. Your added together is your B, right? That's the second step we did. Then what's the third step? third step, you will do that. You will split the middle term, right? The middle term B, right, to the two numbers we just found, right? You split them. Then what do we do next? We will group them, right? We will group the first two terms and what? The last two terms, right? Then we do grouping. Then we do the grouping, right? And factoring. Then you also check to make sure you are doing right. We are on the page 14. Let's see some more examples. So, do we have a trinomial? Yes. The leading coefficient is 1 or not? It's not. So you cannot do directly just plug in two numbers to find the answer. We have to use what? AC method. So first we're factoring out the GCF, right? Factoring out the GCF, but we don't have any. Then what's the next step? We say we use AC method. So what's your A? 8, right? What's your B? -22. What's your C? 5. You have to write it in standard form, right? So what's your AC? 8 times C, 8 times 5, 40. What's your B? -22, right? So you are going to find the two numbers that will work for this. Which two numbers? That will be what? 40 multiplied together, 8 times 5, 4 times 10, 2 times 20, 20, right? So you will have 2 times 20, positive or negative, because added together it has to be negative. So first, you find the two numbers, right? That will work for AC and the B. Then, what's the next step? Sometimes you get stuck and not sure what you are going to do. So check your steps. So next one, what do? Split the middle part to these two numbers you just found it, -2 and -20. You cannot just do that because that's 22x. So you need to put your x there. So when you put it together back, then you will have -22x. Then you carry down these two numbers, right? Then what's the next step? Group the first two terms and last two terms. Do your grouping, factoring by grouping. Then what do we have? So you take a GCF out, 2x, right? That would be 4x minus 1. Is that right? You take 2x out from both. Then ax squared take 2 out would be 4. X squared take x out would be x. Then 2x take out 2x. You only have 1. Then for this one, 20 and 5, that's 5 for GCF. Leading one is negative, so you use negative. What's left? 4x, right? 20 divided by 5 is 4x. 5, take a -5 out. Remember to make sure you do your sign correctly. If we do that, two groups, do we have same thing? So for the purpose of your class, if they are not the same, that means you are not doing right. So you just have to redo it, make sure it's correct. Then after this, you should have 4x minus 1 the same, 2x minus 5, right? So that's how you have. Then how do you know you are doing right? You do the FOIL, then make sure you get back. Or you can write 4x1. I think computer will take both because 4 times 5 and 5 times 4, they are the same. Are we okay? Let's look at the next one, number 3. So we are practicing what? Breaking down the trinomial with leading coefficient is now 1. Which method we are using? We call it AC method or diamond method, right? So you can do it directly with AC method for this one, but if leading one is negative, it's easier for you just to take a negative one out, negative. So inside it's positive, it's easier for you to manage, okay? You take a negative out means invisible one, right? Negative 1. Then inside you change the sign for everyone. So, right? Do the opposite. When you distribute negative inside, then you will get back, right? So what's your A? 6. What's your B? 13. What's your C? -5, right? So do your AC. AC is what? C. 6 times -5, -30. B is what? 13. Which two number will work? 10 and 3, it looks like. If you use 10 and 3, but one has to be negative number, you end up what? Cannot be 13, right? So that's not right. You better double check. So intuitively you would think, oh, 3 and 10 make a 13, but remember it's a negative. If one is negative, one is positive, you add them together will not be 13. Actually, one is what? 5 and 2. Which one negative? -2 is negative, and 15 is positive. That's the two number you need, right? Multiply together is negative, added together is positive for this case. Then what's the next step? Split the middle part to two numbers we just found. So you have 15x and -2x, right? Then we will carry down those another two numbers, right? Then what do we do? Next step, grouping the first two and last two. So for this one, right? So then for grouping, factoring by grouping, you do what? Factoring out the GCF. That would be 3 for 6 and 5, x squared and x, that would be x. Then for first term, 6 take out 3 will be 2, x squared take out x, you have x left, right? For the second one, 15 take out 3 would be 5, x and x out. Then for the second term, second group, what do you take out? No, nothing is same, but the leading, if nothing is same, it means what? GCF is 1. With the leading one is negative, you do -1, right? So then left over is positive, -5 become +5. Then you put it together, the group, and left over would be here, 3x minus 1. Is that your final answer? Not quite. Why? For the original question, you need to carry down what? Your negative. So that would be negative of whole thing. That would be your answer. right? What are we doing? We are doing what? Factoring, right? Trinomial by AC method. Are we okay? Think about it, and you do need to practice a lot to get better. For this one, we say, don't worry about the y, because for the purpose of this class, we would do the same thing, right? Just use AC method. Then we fit in the y, okay? So for this one, what's your A? 10. What's your B? -13. What's your C? -3. Then your AC would be what? -30. B would be what? -13. Right? So which two number will work? It's not the 3 and 10 because 1 is negative. That will not add up together, become -13. It would be 15 and 2, right? But one of them is negative. This time is -15. Then +2. Multiply together is negative. Add together is -13. Then what's the next step? We say you will break down to the middle. Will be -15 and +2. The difference now you have a y. So you have x, y. You need to do the same term you have to break down, right? So you have 10x squared. You carry out those. Then what do we have? 4 terms. 3 terms. Trinomial, change it to 4 terms. Then we do what? Factoring by grouping. Factoring by grouping, you find the GCF for each group. For this 10 and 5, that would be 5, right? But besides 5, what else you have for the GCF? You also have x. So you take x out. That would be what? 2 left, right? From 10 divided by 5. X squared, take out x, you have x left. And for 15, take out 5, become -3. X, y, you take out x, you have y left, right? And for second group, 2xy, 3y squared. 2 and 3, nothing, but you do have a y for both. So you take y out. Positive or negative, leading line is positive, you use positive. So the inside, 2xy, take y out, you have 2x left. -3y squared, take y out, you have another y left, so that's -3y, right? So in this two group, we have 2x minus 3y left. Take out, then left one was, first one will be 5x, second one will be y. Are we okay? Right? Then you check. By FOIL them, make sure it gets back. Then practice checking so you know how to multiply correctly. Fifth one we are going to skip. They are the same. Let's do the sixth. So let's take a look at this one. Trinomial. But no longer to be what? Ax squared plus bx plus c. So x squared. But we have what? Fourth. right? But as we say, for the purpose of this class, we will practice the same method for a reason. So let's just use same method, see if we can resolve this one. So what's your A? 3. What's your C? B. -8, right? So AC, you multiply them, -24, right? Then what's your B? -5. Which two number will work? Probably you can tell. One is a -8, one is a +3, right? Added together is -5. Then what's the next step? Split the middle part to these two numbers. So that will be -8 and 3, +3. But no longer x. This time, what do you have? It is what? X squared. So you need to copy those down accordingly. Then you carry down those two terms, left, right? 4 terms. What do? By grouping. Then for the first group, what do you have? For the GCF, 3 and 8, nothing. X fourth and x squared, you do have x squared, right? So x fourth, take x squared out, you have x squared left, and that's 3. And this one, x squared, you take out, then you only have -8 left, right? For the second group, 3x squared and -8, you have nothing in common. That means what? Your GCF is 1. So with positive here. Then left is this one, right? Then for this group, what do you have? You will have these two groups, they have this in common, then x plus 1 left from here, right? So that will be your final answer, right? Okay, so that would be 6. We're on page 15, right? So we skip number 5. We are going to skip number 7. They are the same, very similar to this one. You practice that. And let's do number 8. Number 8 is 24x fourth, right? Not a square, but we see how can we make it a right. So remember, look at 2446. Oops. We should have something in common for all the numbers. That's called GCF, right? 2446, you have 2. At the same time, you also check the x's. X fourth, x cubed, x squared. What do you have in common? Square, right? So you take out, always do GCF first. 24 divided by 2, 12. X fourth, take 2 of them out, you have 2 left, right? Then second one, second term, 40, take 2 out, 20. X cubed, take x squared out, is 1 left. Then last term, 6 take 2 out is 3. X squared, take out x squared, you don't have any, right? So outside is 1 term, inside is your what? Trinomial. Then for this trinomial, leading coefficient is 1 or not? It is not. If it's not, we have to use AC method, right? So your A is 12, C is 3. Multiply them together, AC is what? 36. Then what is your B? 20. So which two number will work for you? Multiply together is 36. Added together is 20. 6 and 6 will be 12. Right? That would not work. 4 and 9 will not work. So that would be 18 and 2. Both would be positive. You have to work it out. So then what we are going to do? You split the middle part, 18 and 2. But the term is for x, right? Then you carry down the first term and the last term. Then what do we do? You group them, right? Then you use GCF, that would be 6 and x, right? So that would be 2x left, 6 times 2, 12, x times x, x squared. Then for the second term, that would be just 3. Then for these two, they don't have anything in common. That means GCF is what? 1 plus 1, then you have 2x plus 3, right? Then for these two groups, we have 2x plus 3 in common. Left will be 6x plus 1, right? Is this the final answer? Don't forget, your original, you still have something in front you have to copy down. So that would be your final answer, right? Are we okay? Practice. We are going to skip number 9. You practice. It's the same as this one. So that would be our section 7.2 and 7.3. What do? We did what? Factoring trinomials with leading coefficient either is a is 1 or a is not 1. If a is 1, you can just break down x plus something multiply together. If a is not 1, you need to use AC method. This would be our section 7.2 and 7.3.